Oh, well, one thing before I admit, everyone, what or which way do you guys
What's
look
up?
at the attendance? Because it doesn't pull it automatically. Do you guys do it manually? Just get everyone by one, or is there a different program you guys use?
They should have to register in order to get into the room.
Where do those registrations go? Because I don't have access to them.
I'm not sure where that goes because I've never set up that function before.
All right, I'll look into it.
Okay,
So if
and maybe
so,
Chris or
yeah,
yeah.
so I mean, if the registration is set up, which I think it is, then the registration goes straight to the person who actually registered the Zoom information.
All right.
Appreciate that, Chris. Hey, welcome everybody. Apologies for a little bit of a wait there. Glad to see everybody that you're joining us. I do apologize. I'm going to be off camera today. I'm dealing with some back pain and not moving as quickly as I usually do. So, but I'm here still and here to help. And we're going to have a great session today. We've got Alec Mesropian on back from Japan with, I'm sure, tons of stories that I'd love to hear. And happy that he's here. And we also, you all should have gotten an email from the BizFed Advocacy Academy, kind of giving you a little bit of information about today's session. That it's going to be with Alec. It's going to be about, crafting your compelling testimony and writing letters to lawmakers. In addition to that, we're happy to announce that we have finalized our location for the in-person session, which is going to be our final culminating session on October 16th. And so that one's going to be at 211 LA, which is in San Gabriel. And we are going to be sending out an email with all of the logistics and information for this. We'll be sending out a calendar invite as well, so you can all put it on your calendars. Please note that we are going to put in the body of the email that we need you to respond to us with your RSVP because part of that event is us going to be presenting you with your checks. And if you do not let us know that you're coming, then we will not have your check. So we'll reiterate that in the email. Just all you gotta do is reply and say I'll be there, or I plan on attending, and we'll make sure to have you all situated and ready to go. With that, I don't want to take too much more of your time. We'll have some time at the end for questions. If anybody has any questions, I want to give the floor over to Alec Mesropian.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Glad to see everyone on the call and ready to learn. This is the final session, so congrats to all of you for making it to the end of the program, and the celebration will come soon afterwards. I always love the culmination events that we put together for Advocacy Academy participants, and I'm sure the one that Blaine and Alicia are planning next will be just as amazing as the previous ones we've held. And so please, I just want to reiterate what Blaine said. Do RSVP if you do plan on joining us. It matters for everything, not just for the checks, but for seating arrangements, for food, for drinks, for everything. And it helps us a lot. And also helps the event go smoothly. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen here. Just give me a moment. All right. And I know you've all seen the syllabus, and I think Blaine also mentioned the email that was sent out earlier about what we're covering today. But I'm going to wrap up the session with a very important topic that I think is at the very foundation of advocacy, and that's writing. Um, Despite what you may think or what you may hear, and the prevalence of social media and digital communications and videos and photos, writing and the words you put into advocacy work, into letters, into testimony, into even your own research and the kinds of reports that folks submit to legislators at every level, all matter, right? That's why I wanted to title my presentation Winning Words, because with the right words, you really can change the conversation. You really can win someone over to your side. I think it's important to note that, at least from my experience, a lot of elected officials, they have a few lines in the sand. they may feel very, very strongly about a handful of issues, just like how people refer to other people as like one issue candidates or one issue voters. In many ways, some elected officials really do have strong opinions on a small number of issues, but those issues are only a small percentage of what these elected officials are tasked with debating and deciding and voting on. And so for the other, let's say 90 to 95% of the issues these folks deal with on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, there is a lot of room for advocacy and there's a lot of room for persuasion. And that's really where writing and good testimony and effective writing comes into play. So I want to teach all of you in this very short session, and we'll have some time for you to practice some testimony of your own. I want to show you how to write impactful testimony, impactful advocacy materials, and testimony that will make the difference when it comes to reaching out and making sure your message, your organization's interests, your business's interests really come across and convince an elected official to vote your way or to work in your best interest. So that was sort of the welcome to the session. And then what you're going to learn here more specifically is, like I said, you'll learn how to craft persuasive materials. And this is something you can always practice on your own as well. We're going to learn how to tailor messages for impact, right? Because we do deal with very limited time slots when we're up there testifying before elected officials. And we also deal with limited time frames when we're submitting letters to different elected bodies, or if there are report backs from committees or elected officials on soliciting information from the community, from its organizations, from its businesses. These all happen in very limited time frames. So you don't have much time to write, and you have to write effectively to get the most out of the time that you're given and out of the time that's expected of the process. So we want to tell stories that also move the electives, right? You don't just want to have an impactful message, you want to move them. So it's not a cold world. It's important to have emotion, to add personal experience, to add personal knowledge and your own experience with the issues you care about to your writing, so that elected officials know that this is a real actual person with real actual problems that I can truly solve and help mitigate. And then you want to structure compelling testimony, right? And that's a combination of what I mentioned. It's a combination of strong writing skills, of simple and efficient and clear writing, as well as emotionally impactful writing. So we're going to have a presentation and then some practice, and then I'll leave some room at the end for anyone to ask any questions they may have. And why does all this matter? Well, words move policy, right? So yours should too. Your words can move policy, right? And lawmakers, they remember powerful testimony, right? So if you are able to load your testimony with strong emotion, with real experiences, with explicit knowledge, and prove that you are an expert in your given field, or you are the de facto expert in the organization you run or in the business that you're trying to lead. Legislators pay attention to those sorts of things, and they know you're not just some random person off the street there to waste their time, right? They care, and especially if you're a constituent. And so we always ask folks, leaders and the people we train, that if you are a constituent of these people, say you're showing up at a city council meeting on a small business issue and you own a coffee shop and you care about, a new regulation or a new permitting issue that could directly impact your business. If you are a constituent of, say, Nitya Raman if you live in the Valley, or perhaps of Hugo Soto Martinez if you live close to downtown, like, don't be afraid to mention your testimony. I am a constituent of yours, Mr. So and so, Mrs. So and so, because they remember that, right? That's part of crafting powerful testimony. And when you write well, you'll learn that advocacy writing can influence legislation. It can build successful coalitions, right? It also brings people over to your camp. And power in numbers is a real thing. You can mobilize communities, especially your own community, and you can hold decision makers accountable. Most important is to hold decision makers accountable. And you can only do that if you can communicate your ideas well and have a record of those ideas that you've communicated well as well. So, when does this matter? Well, I sort of went into this a little bit, but more specifically, this matters in legislative hearings, right? This could be at your local city council, at the board of supervisors for the county. This could be for the state assembly, for the state senate, and it applies federally, right? If you go to DC and you're part of a trip that's meeting with legislators in a House committee or Senate committee, it applies in all of those sorts of hearings. Before key votes as well, right? In media and public campaigns. I believe we had a social media session a few weeks ago where our comms director, Elizabeth Dauble, went over how media and public campaigns work and how to best write effectively for those. So writing matters there as well. It matters for coalition mobilization, right? How do you bring people over to your side? How do you build those groups? And of course, for social media outreach, especially now more than ever. So before I move on to the next slide, I just want to call out to the group and ask a question. And if you can, unmute yourself or raise your hand, feel free to just shout it out and give me your opinion. But the activity is, what's one policy you care about? Why or who needs to hear your message? So if anyone wants to speak out about their particular experience, please do. Yes, Joan, please.
Okay. One of the projects that I've been working on for 13 years is trash cleanups on the Esplanade and Redondo Beach. And in order to do that, we have monthly cleanups, but I work with Public Works, I work with other environmental groups. And so I'm constantly putting out information on social media, to get the various factions involved in this. And so I found, with also holding my city officials accountable for the work that needs to be done there. So that's something that I'm working on. We have our annual community mixer / fundraiser coming up in 2 weeks. So I'm doing a big push to get as many legislators and city officials there and other people, to come to it to support us. So that's what I'm doing.
Right. No, that's excellent. And that's a great example of you having a clear idea of what you care about, the actions that you want to work on, and also the results you expect from your elected officials, and who to target. Who's on the Redondo Beach City Council. The people that could impact your issue. So you're doing it right. It's just now it's just a matter of to keep hammering away at it and to keep at it, right? Because this sort of work and advocacy never ends. You have to keep going, and even after you may achieve your goal, something else comes up, and you have to go after that again. It's a never-ending process.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 13 years, and I just met with Public Works today, and I have a whole list of things and people I need to contact on some future projects to gain that coalition within the community. So,
well, that's one. That's a great example of effective advocacy. So thank you for sharing that.
Okay, thank you.
Dora, I think you'd like to speak up. Would you like to go ahead?
Yes, please. My focus right now is SB 84, which is a California Assembly bill that we're trying to pass to stop predatory lawyers from stealing our money, basically, as small businesses, because we can't afford to pay the prices that they want $25,000 because a counter is a quarter of an inch too short. And what we're trying to pass is a bill that would say, okay, we have found that this is a quarter of an inch too short. You have 2 weeks to fix it. And if you don't, then they can sue you, instead of immediately having to pay someone $25,000 for small things around the thing.
Yeah.
I've gone to Sacramento to speak in front of the assembly to push them to see things our way and to help us out, because a lot of businesses have closed permanently because of this predatory element.
Right.
And it didn't pass this first year, but it's going into the second year. So now our work for the second year will be to make sure that even more assembly members hear about this and we get their more support and get this thing passed so that we can go back to doing what we like to do, which is feed people, make people happy, and make a living for ourselves without having to harm others.
Precisely. Yeah. SB 84 is a great example. BizFed, actually, we are with you on this. We took the exact same position as you have here on SB 84, where we want to support small businesses' right to cure. We want to allow them to have that, whatever period is defined. Some people have said it should be 2 weeks, others have said it should be up to 6 weeks. Regardless, they should have several weeks to cure a problem if it is in fact not aligned with ADA laws. For example, if ramps need to be put in place, if you mentioned something like, a counter needs to be a certain height. It's just a matter of, giving these businesses, many of which are, like your business, family owned, not a large company. You don't have, a team of architects and builders and regulators and lawyers behind you. It's to give these folks a chance to fix something when in fact it is not malicious. No one believes that a small business, because they forgot to install, the right type of counter, is maliciously, opposed to giving disabled folks equal access to a restaurant. That's of course not the case, but so we are behind you, and we want to continue this effort into the second year. Absolutely,
And
because
when
we
we're
want
done with
everybody to
that,
hear.
they're starting to sue us for our websites because they're not ADA
Yeah,
accessible.
it all
That would be
falls
the
into the
second,
same.
part two of our effort.
Yeah, it all falls into the same category. Yeah, it is really it's wrong. Well, just morally it's wrong to sue these folks for all they have just because, they make an honest mistake. And it is on these these predatory attorneys that go after it. And so we want to support businesses and make sure they have the right to cure. We're not stopping anyone from fixing issues, or we don't want to make things more accessible. We just want to give folks the time to fix a problem before they get sued into oblivion. So, thanks for bringing that one up. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to share before I move on? No? Okay, wonderful. Then I will continue with the presentation. So,
Hey, Alec, I'm
yes.
not sure if this, we did have something in the chat from Jocelyn Martin that says she's having some mic issues. She cares about healthcare for the homeless population policy because she believes everyone deserves access to appropriate and accessible healthcare. Policymakers, local government, and initiative supporters need to hear her message.
Got it. Yes. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that, Jocelyn. That's also an excellent point. BizFed is committed to lifting Angelinos out of poverty. We are firmly behind opportunities that lift folks out of homelessness, and so I share your sentiment here. And policymakers, local government initiative supporters, everyone you mentioned, certainly needs to work more on this issue. Um, we know it's not always visible in LA, and there is a lot of shakeup happening now. If you look at how, the loss of the LA Homelessness Services Authority has faced a lot of criticism in recent months. But regardless, we all want these folks to have, we all want them to be housed. We want them to receive the care they need. And we want our streets to be clean, to be safe, and for business to be able to operate, and for customers to feel comfortable shopping these places as well. Okay, so let's move on, and then I'll go back and we'll have more times for engagement in a few minutes. So, what is the anatomy of a strong advocacy piece, right? I like to break it down to 5 points, right? There's the hook, right? There's the story. Who are you? This is when you introduce yourself to the elected official, to the person listening, right? Um, and then there's the position. What do you support, and what do you oppose? There's the rationale. What's the data? What's the values? What are you actually backing yourself up with? What are the numbers? Where's the proof, essentially, right? And then there's a call to action. What is just the specific act? So, given this is who I am, this is my position, this is what the data shows, this is what I need from you, and that's how you would approach an elected official. And then lastly, the credibility. Why does your voice matter? And why does this issue matter, right? And this is when you can really point to logical arguments, to emotional arguments. You can really appeal to what you think would be the most convincing way of getting an elected official, of somebody in power to vote your way or to support you. Of course, that's the structure generally, but you will be writing in different formats for different things. When we write testimony, right? When you go before a city council meeting, whether it's the full council or the committee, You got to be personal, you got to be concise, but you have to be limited, right? You are given 1 to 2 minutes, sometimes three, if you want to combine items on an agenda to speak. So that's not a whole lot of time. And the time is running whether you're speaking or not. So, the more words you can get out in those 2 minutes or 3 minutes, if you're able to, the better. And if the clock starts running and you're not able to get through everything you want to say, they will cut you off, and then you'll be left half spoken. And it's another thing is that there's a lot of accessibility here as well. So you can also, if you feel more comfortable speaking in another language, whether that's, Spanish or Korean or Mandarin or what have you, there are interpreters at all of these places that will live interpret what you want to say, and that's all because the theory here is that we want everyone to be able to participate regardless of language ability and to not feel limited. So if you feel more comfortable speaking in, say, Spanish than you do in English, you're free to give your testimony in Spanish, and then you'll be allowed to pause every few sentences for an interpreter to live translate, and then you can go on. And your time doesn't run out while you're being interpreted. So that's a way to sort of also allow you to not feel pressured by language constraints or time constraints if you feel more comfortable in another language. There are always letters as well. These are longer, right? You have more than a couple hundred words. You have 500 plus words usually, and this is where you have a chance to be respectful, direct, informative. Your op-eds and statements, right? Op-eds are argument based. You can include examples. These are also around 500 plus words, and these are the kinds of things that appear in newspaper publications, in online papers, on online news sites, and with the right connections, you can have or sometimes even depending on the news site, if your issue is important enough for your organization or business, you can pay to have an op-ed placed in a website, sort of like an advertisement, but it's still out there and it shows up on Google searches and it shows up when people look at that website or read that publication. And oftentimes elected officials will see that, and so will their staff. And then social media, I won't get into it because I know Elizabeth did this earlier. But you want to be punchy, visual, link to action. I know Elizabeth covered that in a previous session, so I will defer to her expertise for that. And then in terms of in all of these writing types, what do decision makers really want, right? I like to call them the 5 C's. They want clarity, credibility, conciseness, a compelling narrative, and a concrete ask, right? So what do each of those mean? What do each of those mean? Clarity means no jargon, right? Remember, they're not experts. Just because they're an elected official doesn't mean they're an expert in the field you're coming from, right? If you may have been in the restaurant business for 30, 40, 50 years, right? An elected official may know nothing about the restaurant business besides, what they like to order and how long they expect to wait for food. And they don't really know how a business is run in the food space. They don't really know what goes on behind the scenes, kitchen wise, logistics wise. They're not the experts, right? So you don't want to throw in jargon and words and vocabulary and specifics that they can't really relate to, right? You want to keep the vocabulary you use and the sentence structure you use simple enough for them to understand, for any lay person to understand, right? And then credibility. Who are you? So you want to also explain to them who you are and why your voice matters, right? You do that in the opening few lines, and I'll show you in a couple slides from now what that looks like. Conciseness, right? You don't want to go on, you don't want to keep talking over and over and over and over and never getting to the point. You want to respect the time you're given and the agenda for the meeting. A compelling narrative, right? This is the emotion I was talking about. This is combined with credibility. It's about making them care about your message. And like I said, if you're a constituent, point that out. And then a concrete ask, right? Be specific, because these folks, they get so many requests, so many asks from their communities, from organizations, from businesses, from coalition groups, from every group imaginable, that if you're not concrete about your ask, they're likely not going to remember it. But if you say, um, I want, I am this person with this business in this neighborhood, and on our street, you know, these street lights have been out for 6 months. So I need somebody to come and fix these street lights. Then that's a concrete ask. They know that, okay, there are 6 street lights on Main Street that need to be fixed, and they'll do that. But if you start talking about, the city is dark and like it's dangerous and crime is a problem, and we're worried about this, and we think the streets are a problem, and we don't know what to do, you've got to be real specific here. And then what are some techniques for strength, right? There are so many, but I'll name just a few, right? Use power stats. I like to call them power stats. These are just numbers, right? You talk about, this many number of businesses have been impacted, right? That has impact. Tell real stories, right? You can say, my employee Maria, my manager Stan, my colleague Dan, whatever. You can bring a real person into the conversation because that's real experience. That isn't just, data and numbers and themes and non-specific ask. You're bringing someone's real lived experience into the dialogue. You want to use active voice, right? You want to use things like we believe, our coalition, my community. You want to always be more than yourself because elected officials, they care about individuals, but really, their job is to a constituency. Their job is to report to an entire community. So if you tailor and you focus the issue as something that only impacts you, it's unlikely that you're going to get much action out of that because you're just one person. And if they have to worry about, several 100,000 people that fall into their constituency, then you may be overlooked. But if you are one restaurant owner, you can say, the restaurant community, our restaurants, the restaurants in the district, or the restaurants in this neighborhood, or in this stretch of a particular neighborhood. That's about creating power in numbers, right? And then lastly, urgency, right? You want to talk about how now is the time, right? We need this now. We don't want this in 2 years. Things take a long time in government. So the more urgency you can place on something, the higher the chances that they're going to do something about it, because otherwise it gets put on a back burner and no one ever really touches it. So you want to always come back to something and be urgent, because even if they act quickly, it's government. Government is slow. So they might not be able to do something in a day, but if you're urgent about it and you keep pressing them, then yeah, they'll get it done within weeks or months, and that'll be a win for you. So here's another activity, and we can have others participate. What are some techniques that maybe some of you have found that are most effective in your own experiences with advocacy? Does anyone have a story of something they've done that's worked and created results, something they care about? And I'll look at the chat as well. But feel free to speak up. Okay, yeah, Dorothy, please go ahead.
Hi, yes. I just wanted to share. This was really a project of environmental stress or distress, which was trying to save about 60 acres of riparian habitat in it's called the Devil's Gate Dam. It's the first dam in LA County. So there was definitely a push-pull of having to remove enough sediments so that it could provide flood control, but at the same time saving habitat. And it's just a really crazy story, but it really kind of held. Was speaking up at the Board of Supervisors meeting with Pasadena Audubon, the local schools, and the Araseko Foundation. I actually told the story, not of all of those people, they were all there together, but it was the story of the mighty cottonwood tree that held its ground and why it was important for the impact of, which did result in, let's say, 16 acres were saved by telling the story of the mighty cottonwood tree.
Right.
But I told the story at the city council, at the board of supervisors, and it became this place that they all could identify. So instead of it being this big thing, you know, a million plus cubic yards, it was telling the story and to really understand why it's important to, you know, that habitat is also really important in this project. So at the end of the day, they that was sort of the stopping line of the project. And it was a story about a tree and what it did for so many people.
Yeah, see, that's amazing. And if you can weave in stories like that, you'll find that it's a very effective technique. And at the end of the day, I always like to tell people these elected officials are really they're oftentimes they're people just like you and I, and especially the really really local ones. They're people that come out of the community, that come from they're either from business, they're from nonprofits, they're from organizations, they have or maybe in community organizing. They are people that unlike sometimes uh, a five-term senator that's over in DC that's kind of disconnected from everything going on back home in their own home state. These are folks that really are active in their communities and they care and they're moved by personal stories like that and a personal connection to an issue, right? And you'll also learn sometimes you can also do this. You can also look into the backgrounds of these council members, of these supervisors, of these local neighborhood council people, and you can kind of understand where they're coming from and try to relate to them. Like if somebody was a community organizer and you can read about what they did in the past or maybe the organizations they worked for, you can automatically kind of understand what makes them tick and the kind of things that excite them, and you can weave that into your testimony. Like with the cottonwood tree, if a council member was prominent environmental activist for many years before joining the council, and you weave that into your testimony, that'll move them because they care about the environment, they care about the trees and and the animals and the health of everything around them, so they will most definitely be moved by stuff like that. So great. And anyone else, any other questions, or some another technique someone's found effective? Anything? Okay. Let me just check the chat real quick, see if there's a question there. Oh, yeah, Elena, please go ahead.
Sorry, I was like peering without my glasses. But several years ago, when my mom was still alive and living in Culver City, and there was a rent stabilization proposal for the county, I called every county supervisor because my mom lived on a limited budget, a pension, and Social Security. And everything I was seeing was talking about it for low-income families, and no one was really talking about how it was hitting and affecting people on limited fixed incomes who were actually in rental properties. And I found it very effective I sent letters, emails, and phone calls, and all but one county supervisor's office engaged with me. It was very, very good. And sadly, it was well, I don't know, I won't tell who it was. All right, there you go.
Okay.
Right. That's excellent. See,
Okay.
that is a perseverance, and that's all about being effective and really reaching out to as many folks as possible because it is a numbers game at the end of it in many ways. If all your eggs are in one basket and you're only dependent on one council member to sway a vote, or if you're only dependent on one supervisor to bring a motion forward, that may not always work out. You really need to always spread your ask among as many people as possible to get the result you want, because it's unlikely that any one elected official can move the needle. It's oftentimes at the local level they need to work together and they need to form even coalitions within the elected body themselves.
And it was a compelling story because it was my
Yeah.
mom and she'd had cancer and that's why she stopped
Yes.
working. And, thank goodness she had me and my husband to help her out. But how about the people that don't
Yeah.
have
That's
anyone in
right.
a position to? So but it really did work. So.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
And then I think Priscilla, you're next, and then I'll go to you, Joan.
Okay.
So Priscilla, please go ahead.
Okay, hello. Yes, well, what my thing is here is I I suffer with muscular dystrophy and amongst other things, but they had me at one point at like 25 pills a day I would have to take just to survive, so to speak. So I said I had to figure something out. So I started researching essential oils. So I've been doing this for the past 2 years. I actually make my own essential oil blends, and that's helped me physically with inflammation, joint and nerve damage issues, stuff like that. And I give it to my family and friends and stuff, and it's actually the only thing that works for them because there's not a lot of stuff out there, and I make the blends for each individual and their challenges, physical challenges or whatnot. And I'm just trying to see how to get it out there because I mean it's more so word of mouth, but my thing is I'm trying to advocate for those with mental health issues and physical challenges in that part, to be the voice for them because they don't know where to go, how to find this stuff, and just to try to have them go a more natural route because it's hitting the nail on the head with this stuff because it truly does work, and it's worked beyond my means. Like I didn't realize like how strong this stuff really does work and help people. And I just want to be that help source for them to come into and to reach out and get that help.
Absolutely. It's definitely something that's doable. You will find that for example, if you wanted to go out and do this on your own, like you could create your own sort of let's say a nonprofit educational group
Yeah,
that
that's where I'm at. I'm at the beginning stages of my nonprofit. Right. This is why I'm here because I'm not knowledgeable on all the aspects of that. That's why I'm just like trying to learn as I go.
Which classes require expanded
well, I will say that it's great that you're starting out with the nonprofit efforts. That's definitely the first step. And then one great thing about a lot of the budgets of these elected officials, they do have grant money and they do give out money to constituent organizations. So the next step for you is I would recommend you sort of map out wherever you live in LA County, like map out every single one of your elected representatives. So who is your city council member? Who is your county board supervisor? Who's your state assembly member? And who's your state senator? Map all of those folks out and then start speaking to them, start reaching out to their offices, explaining what you just explained to me, who you are, the personal story, what you've discovered, what you want to do, and ask them because they have money specifically set aside to support grants like this, especially in alternative healthcare. So reach out to them and ask them, hey, what kind of resources do you offer for someone like me, to get this started and to get this, growing quickly. So that's what I would do first.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then Joan, go ahead.
Okay, one of the things that I've done, and this is around Keep the Esplanade Beautiful. As I said, we do monthly cleanups and we work with different parts of the city. Well, Redondo Beach, as every other city in LA, is now focused on LA 28. And what can they be doing during the Olympics to attract people, especially in the cities that don't have, the actual games? So, and Redondo is in bad financial situation, so they're looking at doing whatever they can to attract people. So what we've done is some of the projects that we see in the future, we've tied them to the economic benefit that it will give to the city to attract people to during the Olympics. So we have public art funds that haven't been used. I just got the Cultural Art Commission to move forward on that. We have another project we're working on with West Basin Water District, but I'm tying it all to LA 28 because that's what my local legislators understand, and people, within our LA, they understand that. They don't say, oh, just it's going to make it prettier. Now we can actually tie some economic benefit to it. So that's kind of switch that I've done just with taking this course and with what's going on.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's very, very positive. So you're already sort of at step 2 and 3 at this point, and you've been working on this issue for many, many years, and really framing it with a big event like LA 28 is important. And then if you think about all the other events, right? There's the World Cup next year. We've got the Super Bowl the year after that, and then the Olympics come in 28. So to everyone else, if you are working on a particular community development project, like if you're someone like Joan who's working on cleaning up a part of your community, or if you care about, improving the streets in your neighborhood or improving the areas around your businesses or where you frequent, putting all of that within the frame of these big events really does put pressure on elected officials because, at the end of the day, they want their districts, they want their constituent communities to look good and to represent them well when the world comes to LA. So that matters, and they will pay attention to that because, if it doesn't go well, then they're gonna be asked a bunch of tough questions about why did your district fail to live up to the expectations of the games and of these big events. Why were the streets not ready in time? Why were the businesses and organizations not prepared? Why were there so many problems? They'll face that 3, 4 years down the road, and they don't want that. So they want to prepare for it now.
Okay. And just can I say, with cleanup, Mayor Bass established the Operation Shine a couple of months ago about encouraging neighborhoods to have cleanups,
That's
so
right.
that we would shine. And I try to tie what we're doing here in Redondo to her effort, but saying, hey, we've been doing it for 13 years. So yay, Mayor Bass,
That's right. Well, thank you. Okay, Beth, I think you're next. So please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Beth Lester. I'm here in 13 years of Pine Tree Society. And 21 years of Woodford's Family Services. And House Playland Amusement Parks in Old Orchard Beach, Maine.
Thank you for sharing that. And what issue are you working on now that you care about?
I'm not working today.
No, I mean, what issue are you
No,
working
I
on that
said
we can help
offsite
you?
distribution center at the Maine Medical Center.
I understand. Okay. And so your concern is perhaps with getting enough support and funding to improve that distribution and the network. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Well, again, this is something that elected officials deal with a lot. And when it comes to, let's say in particular, you're talking about distribution for healthcare. Um, like I was advising Priscilla and her issue, there are there's a lot of grant money that's set aside by local and state and county elected officials to be given out to folks that are doing work. Because at the end of the day, the government's figured out that, it's easier for them to contract out and to allow people that are experts in the field and more embedded in communities to do work that benefits their constituents than putting all the onus and pressure on the government and for these district offices to do it themselves, right? So it's a way of sort of distributing the work effort. So Beth, that's what I would encourage you to do. What I advise Priscilla to do is map out exactly who every single one of your elected officials are at every level, all the way up to the federal level, and then starting with the local ones first, with your city council member, right? The most direct one possible. Starting from there, you should reach out and ask, do you offer resources, whether they're money, whether they're financial resources, whether it's educational resources, or maybe it's connections to folks that can support you and your effort. So that's what I would recommend.
Yep.
Thank you. Maria, I believe you're next. Why don't you go ahead?
Hi. So I have a question, but I'll give you a background a little bit so you can understand my question. So I own an ad agency, Globify, and we work with the federal government as well as the tech industry. We do city takeovers and utilize multi-channels to do advertising. And for the past 8 years, I've been wanting to build a technology where I can shift the ad dollars from the billion-dollar companies to the actual people that we're trying to get the attention from. So what I'm trying to do is get the brands to spend money with people in a community to spread the word about their brand rather than spend it on a billboard or spend it on
Right.
Google or Facebook, who are using us as commodity. And so I actually went to City Hall and I did do a pitch. And one thing I did not have is the concrete ask, which is, I wish I had this lesson 5 years ago when I went and pitched them, but I didn't have a concrete ask. And now that I'm thinking about my pitch to them, I went in and I said, I want to disrupt the ad industry by bringing the ad dollars to the actual people and pump revenue into the communities, right? And so
Yeah.
I think my ask was unclear, and partially because, and this is my question for you, Alec, partially because I wasn't really clear on how and what they could do to help me. I think to a certain extent, what advice do you have in terms of, let's say we're on a mission to disrupt an industry or to improve something or change something. How do we research to understand what resources or what they can help us with so that our ask is very concrete?
Right. So that's a great question. I would say the following. I would say that generally elected officials, especially local ones, are always looking to, like you said, they want to redistribute profits and monies and contracts and the benefits of those to their constituents and to the people in their communities. That's just where their mind's at. So they're already kind of on your side when it comes to your goal. So you already align there. So that's a great way to sort of first make sure you're both on the same page, is mention that and always open with that. The second part is, what does that really mean? So it comes down to local hire, I think. So like with these big events that I was talking to other folks about, we've got, like I said, there's the World Cup and then there's the Super Bowl and then there's the Olympics. Um, there are also, of course, all these sport franchises in LA, and LA hosts all these concerts and all these big events, even in between these worldwide international events. And something that I notice is always being preferenced, or preferred, I should say, in City Hall is local hire. So if you can find a way to connect, let's say, people that want to sell a product with consumers that want to buy a product, and find a way to do that without going through Google, Meta, the big billboard companies, right? The big bus, the bus stop companies, all of those folks. If you can find a way to find that maybe local marketers or local advertisers that perhaps control, a smaller number of billboards in specific council districts, or maybe they control, they control the ad that people put on, but on bus stops or on like bus seats, or maybe if you can work with, for example, local transit agencies that put ads up in the buses, right, or in the trains, whether it's Amtrak or Metro or what have you. I think you can circumvent a lot of the bigger companies, because those larger companies, they do great at like a top level and at like national and international levels, but they really have like only like one or two employees that are like based out of like LA, for example, and especially based out of LA for like one part, for like the particular sector you care about. So they're not going to have somebody that's working on, that's working on, ads in metro stations. Like, they have to go to Metro and ask them, oh, who's your guy for this? And then they pay Metro, Metro pays the guy and they put the ad up or whatever. But you can, as a local person, as someone that's more connected to and has a finger on the pulse here, you can more easily, and through your connections that I'm, advising everyone to do through connections with local elected officials, reach out and be first in line for a lot of those local contracts and local hire contracts. And then, you can, in some ways, you can beat these larger companies, Amazon and Google and Meta. You can beat them at a local level. because they still haven't quite, they're working every single day to crack that local level of control. Because everything else they do is big. It's the internet, it's global, it's national. They haven't quite cracked local control as effectively. Um, and a lot of them are still scrambling to understand how local governments work. You know, they don't quite understand. Like this, the LA City Council is one thing. It's a big entity. But like, for example, like I doubt like the top executives at Meta know anything about how the Burbank City Council runs. Like they don't know anything about that. And so that's where your advantage comes in. So you should take advantage of that and pursue those smaller local hire opportunities.
And actually, I'm in the midst of developing a technology that would be the connector between the brands who are trying to sell to, let's say, people in Los Angeles, and then have whether it's the small businesses or people in the community that want to spread the word about the brand can do so. And so the money stays within that community and the brand still gets the exposure that they want. I guess the my last question is, as I'm building the technology, I'm raising money. So would that, if I'm for profit, would it make sense for me to ask for resources or for money even, or do I need to be a nonprofit to ask them? Because I think this could be a good thing for all the constituent, well, not the obviously it's beneficial to the constituents, but it's also beneficial to the government officials because eventually they're going to have access through the platform to their constituents to spread whatever it is that they eventually want. Because as just like a brand can do it, the same way through my technology, the government officials can do it.
Yeah. To answer the first question, yes, definitely. You don't have to be a nonprofit to take advantage of this sort of benefit from the government. As long as you're still a small business, at the end of the day, right? You're not a mega corporation. And so as long as you still maintain that small business status and you could demonstrate that you are embedded in the community and you'll have to back it up with numbers, right? You have to back up, what's your revenue, what's your profit, you have to submit like P&Ls and all this. But if you can back it up that you are truly, a small business, but also don't be afraid to plug, other things about your business that make you different. Like if you're woman owned, if you're minority owned, if you are from, let's say an immigrant background, all these things they matter. And all of these things in a place like LA give you preference. Regardless of what you think of that, whether you think that's fair or not, that's the reality. The reality is the more kind of hyphens you can add to your business, oftentimes the more pots of money you will unlock. And that will benefit you, and you don't have to be a nonprofit.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was very helpful.
You're welcome. Anything else before I move on, folks? No more time. So I'm going to move on, and then we're going to have some more time for questions later. So let's move on to a few common mistakes that I see people make all the time when it comes to really advocating for themselves, right? And these are just a few. This is not an exhaustive list. One, rambling intros, right? You don't want to go on and on and on about, where you come from, where you come from, who you are, how long you've done this, why you think you're the best. I mean, you got to be concise. You got to be very, very concise. You want to do this in like 2 or 3 sentences max. You don't want to give them a whole essay about your life story. And your life story matters. Don't get me wrong. Your life story is what got you to that point that has built your organization, that's built your nonprofit, that's built your business. That matters. But I'm just telling you that you don't have the time to get into all of that with these people. And they're going to lose interest in you the longer you spend explaining your whole background. So try to not ramble, try to be concise. Jargon overload, right? You're an expert in your field, but don't expect that someone else is an expert in your field as well. So don't overload them with vocabulary and with techniques and with knowledge that they really know nothing about. Try to keep it accessible to, a basic level. Like people say, whenever people say things like, explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. Really, sometimes you got to explain it to these people like they're 5 years old because that's the level of attention they have at that given moment. Avoid personal attacks. No matter how much you hate a council member, hate what they've done, you probably can't stand an assembly member. Everyone has that elected official or politician in their life that you just cannot stand. But attacking them will do nothing for your cause. So if you go out there and if you go up there on the dais, or if you're writing a letter, or if you're submitting testimony and it's just full of hate and personal attacks and whatever, they're just going to discount it. Like they're not even going to read it. And the staff sees it first in that office. And the staff member that sees that letter is probably just going to toss it in the trash because there's nothing of value there. It's just hate. Um, no clear ask taking too long. This is part of rambling. You've got to be concise and clear. And then making it all about you. Like I said, you want to always put yourself and embed yourself within a larger community, within a larger effort or industry or group of people, because that's what moves the needle. Elected officials, you know, they will say they care about individuals, but at the end of the day, it's you're not one vote doesn't determine whether they're reelected or not. It's an entire communities of votes, it's entire constituencies of votes that determine whether they're reelected. So if you can say that I'm here on behalf of the restaurant industry in your district, I'm here on behalf of the insurance industry in your district, or I'm here on behalf of healthcare providers in your district. You know, we as the healthcare providers, we as the restaurateurs, this kind of language really matters more than saying, "Hi, I'm so and so, I am a restaurant." And you know, there's a balance to strike there of emotion versus not making everything all about you, but you always want to err on the side of being more than just your voice, because the more voices you can add to your chorus, the better. And that's what the elected officials would care about. Not respecting time is the next one. You don't want to go off the time that you're given. If they give you 2 minutes to speak, try to keep it within 2 minutes. Because if you try to go after it, they're going to cut you off, and that's never a good look. And of course, using expletives, that's part of personal attacks. Don't curse in testimony. Don't curse when you're before these people. You have to maintain a certain level of decorum. And if you don't, I've seen folks get really heated and really angry in testimony. And there's police officers, and they'll escort you out if they perceive you as a threat. So you really have to be careful with what you say. Not that you'll be persecuted for the words you say, but if you start cursing, yelling death threats at a council member, the police are going to be like, "That's enough. You got to leave." Like that's fair. Okay, so I'm gonna ask Blaine or Jose to help me out with this next one. So Blaine or Jose, we're gonna do a breakout session. So I'm gonna let them put the groups together. And what you're gonna do here, folks, is you're gonna read a bad example of testimony. You're gonna try to understand what the speaker is trying to say, identify what's missing, and then you're gonna rewrite a stronger 1 minute version of that testimony, and then you're gonna return back to the group. I'm gonna give everyone 10 minutes, but first while the breakout sessions are being put together, I'm going to show you all this bad example of testimony, okay? So here's a bad example of testimony that I want you all to fix. Hi, council members. I'm here today because I think this ordinance is not a good idea. A lot of people are upset and businesses are having problems. Please stop the ordinance. It's really bad. I don't think it will work. So take a moment, maybe if you want, take a screenshot of this, take a look at it, try to understand what is actually trying to be said, and then when I put you in your breakout sessions, you'll have 10 minutes to take what's being said and rewrite it to be stronger. And you really want it to only be 1 minute of speaking, right? Like maybe 100 words, 150 words, not a lot, but certainly you want to do something that is better than this example. So, Blaine or Jose, can we activate the groups now? You'll have 1 minute to prepare, well, to give this testimony, but 10 minutes to prepare.
The breakout rooms are open, so you guys should be joining now.
I got disconnected. Could somebody please send me back to the breakout room 7 or one of the rooms? Thank you.
Jose, are you able to get him sent to the breakout room?
Yeah, I just did it.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, can we go ahead and bring folks back now, please? Perfect.
I lost my point.
Oh, we're all back on.
All
We're
right.
back.
All
That was
right.
too
All
quick.
right.
That was not 10 minutes.
No, it wasn't.
So can we just go ahead and jump in and read you ours so that we can just,
Yeah, I think we've got. I'd say. I think we've got. I think we have we have enough time to do a few. So, why don't we start? Yes, please. Let's start with one. So, why don't somebody?
Okay.
One. We'll do like two.
Okay,
Yes,
we'll do ours.
please.
Okay, it was me and Tanya and Tanya Mitchell and a couple of others in our group. Oh, Dr. Joan was in there. Okay, so here's our issue.
All
Good
right.
evening, council members. My name is Lenice and we live in District 5. I'm here to share concern about the maple trees on Main Street. Residents have noticed that the trees seem to have root rot and the branches are falling and causing the sidewalk to crack, which is a safety hazard. We've gathered community feedback and collected 150 signatures asking for action. We respectfully request you add this to the budget for fiscal year 26-27 to help keep our neighborhoods safe. Thank you for your time and your service to our community. That's what we came up with.
Bravo. That was really, really excellent. It was short and sweet, and you got everything in there. You introduce yourself, explain your expertise, were direct to the point and clear about your ask as well. And you fit it. I was timing, and it was all within a minute. So that was really, really excellent.
You only
So
have 30 seconds to get somebody's attention.
yeah, you really do. Honestly, uh, sometimes, like I said, they allow 3 minutes if you combine multiple agenda items. Sometimes, let's say at the LA City Council, but oftentimes, if you're speaking to one agenda item, you get 2 minutes. But of course, we always want to push folks to organize testimony for a minute, maybe a minute 30 max. Basically, because we know sometimes, you want to add your own words. You may it may take longer for you to get all the words out, and we don't want you to be cut off. So great job, Lenice, and to the rest of your team. Excellent work. Why don't we do another one? Okay, so who is there another group that has maybe a different issue?
Okay, we
Yes, Peggy, go ahead.
we came up with something, but I'm not techie enough to be able to read the report and be on here and talk to you. So I'm just gonna make it up as I go. So basically, ours would run something like this. I'm Peggy Barnes. I'm part of a business council with lots of small businesses. We're concerned about ordinance number 123 that has to do with cleaning up the beaches. The idea of cleaning up the beaches is very admirable, and most people would agree with that. But our concern is the amount of money that has been assigned to each small business in the area to provide for this. And so we are against the ordinance because some of us can't afford, the money allocation that's been put out. So I'm here to ask that you do not support the ordinance number 123.
Thank you for that. I really like the personal experience you brought into that and how that would impact you and your group specifically. That's always important to include. And then at the end, you brought out your position on the ordinance. So it's always nice to create a sandwich, right? You want to say, "Hi, I'm so and so with so and so. I support blank or I oppose blank," and then you get into your testimony, right? That's like another 30 to 45 seconds. And then at the end of it all, it's very good to sandwich it and say, again, I urge you to oppose blank, or I urge you to support this, right? That way, some of the first and last things these people hear out of your mouth is your position on that issue. Because sometimes, if they miss the first few sentences because they're working on something else, not paying attention, they'll catch it at the end. Or if they miss the last bit of your testimony, they catch it at the front. So by making sure you mention it at least twice, and get your position across at least twice in your testimony, you can be pretty guaranteed that the elected official will know how you stand on that issue in particular. Yes, Chris, go ahead.
Also,
Yes,
sorry, I just want to add really quick, Beth. I know it was all made up, but you stated that you were a member of a coalition. Don't shy away from the number. They want to hear that there are other people standing with you. So if you have 50 businesses, 100 businesses, make sure that you call that out as well.
Okay.
thank you. Thanks, Alicia. Yeah, very good point there. Chris, why don't you go ahead?
All right. This is group 6. I have another screen, so I'm looking up here.
That's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
I am expressing my concern about Ordinance 448. I'm representing my neighborhood district and numerous residents and local business owners who are unable to be here tonight. Allowing mega warehouses in our community will increase traffic, noise, and cause health problems due to air pollution from hundreds of diesel truck trips every day. We strongly oppose this ordinance, and if it is passed, we will bring forward a referendum to stop it. Thank you for your time.
Very good. That's excellent. You did something a little different towards the end. You decided to present an alternative to the ordinance being considered, right? You said that, this is our position. This is why we're against it. If it happens, this is what we want to do. So that's a great point because sometimes these elected officials need to hear that there are possible consequences for acting one way or voting one way. So if for example, you believe that you'd be able to do something to oppose the ordinance, it may not have to be so far as creating a referendum, as Chris suggested, but if you, as a coalition of businesses, say, if this passes and because we disagree with it, we will do X or we will do Y. That's just it's not, some people may perceive that as a threat, but it's not really a threat. It's just a way of balancing the conversation and showing elected officials that there are consequences to bad policy. And you shouldn't shy away from that as long as you convey it in a respectful way. So Priscilla, go ahead.
Okay, so I was just going to go ahead and read out ours, which Francia, David Morgan, and Lim were in our meeting. So our group, which she came out, she typed it out. So it's a dear council member, and that is Richard Loa and Austin Bishop. I'm a constituent in Antelope Valley and would like to address the unhoused situation in our community. We currently are at 6,753 homeless, and we have to balance the empathy and public safety for the residents and those that are in need. We understand that the city has unspent funds for 2025. Rather than to use a year-end city employee celebration this year, let's be more impactful. I am proposing we set up an emergency committee to action the following. 1 is a community unhoused count. 2 is short-term resources for homeless, and 3 is long-term resources. And thank you.
Excellent. That one was very specific. I like the way you listed out all the alternatives and possibilities there and put them out as 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes clearly labeling things as A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3 make a big difference too.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, I think we have time for one more, and then I'm going to wrap up my presentation. If anyone wants to jump in here. No? All right. Okay, then in that case, let me reshare my screen again. And we will wrap this up in a few minutes here. So I loved everyone's stronger examples. I'm going to share my own version of a strong example, and you folks can tell me what you think of this one, and also use this as maybe a way to structure some of your future pieces of testimony. So I will say, oh, sorry, gotta go back. Okay. So, my interpretation of the prompt was the following. Good morning, council members. My name is Joe Smith, and I own the Sunset Cafe in Encino. We're a family enterprise that has been serving our community for over a decade. As a small business owner employing 23 local workers, I am deeply concerned about the proposed ordinance increasing the minimum wage to $30 per hour by 2028. This policy, though well-intentioned, could force me to reduce staff or shut down entirely. A recent Oxford economics report estimates up to 15,000 jobs could be lost citywide, with economic impacts reverberating throughout the county. I urge you to pause implementation and instead commission an independent impact study on how this proposed ordinance would affect our local economies and communities. Let's ensure our city's policies strike a balanced approach between workers and the businesses that employ them. So this is, I know it's a very polished version and polished example of how you can do this. And you don't necessarily need to include every single example of credibility and data and wording that I used in this example for your own pieces. But I think it's a strong example that at least has several sentences and examples and perhaps parts that you can piece out for your own causes. So now on to the final thoughts. I just want to close by saying, you don't have to be a professional writer to be a powerful advocate, right? You don't have to be a great speaker to be a powerful advocate. You don't have to be an expert in a field. You don't have to have fancy degrees, and you don't have to be rich. You can be anything and everyone and be an advocate for the causes you care about, right? You just need clarity, conviction, and practice, and especially practice, right? You guys, I'm sure when you all started this course, you were less polished than you are now. So imagine where you'll be in another 6 weeks from now or another 6 months from now, right? And after years and years of caring and advocating for the issues you care about, you'll realize that folks like us, who are professionals in this field, we didn't get here all overnight. We did this for years. We come from different backgrounds, and it took us a long time to get to where we are now. And so each and every one of you is capable of doing that same thing, right? It took our advocacy managers a long time to learn how to testify and organize and mobilize the way that we do and the way that we teach. And there's no reason that you cannot do the same for the causes that you care about most. So with that, I'll entertain any final questions. If there are any, please raise your hand. But if not, I'll pass things back to Alicia and Blaine to close out the session. Okay, well, thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed the session.
Thank you so
Well,
much,
hold
Alec.
on, one sec. Yeah, I thought I didn't know where Alicia went. Oh, there she is. Okay, yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
Alex, can we get your email?
Sure, I'll put it in the chat for everyone.
He was also CC'd on the email that went out last night. So I know that there are some questions about the capstone project and questions in general. So Blaine and I and Alec, if you don't mind sticking around, are here to answer those questions. So please feel free to come off mute and jump right on in.
I have a question that is off subject a little bit, but I'm very curious. I'm very impressed with the group of people that are doing this program. And I'm wondering, how did we get invited? I just got an email, but how did I get invited? How did that work?
I'm not sure exactly how you got invited. We sent out emails to our partners, and our partners blasted it out to all of you. We also posted on social media. So one of those ways you got an email, a link, and you signed up and registered, and now here you are.
Well, I guess I don't know. Thank you.
Okay, so don't be shy now. There's questions obviously about the capstone project. I saw a lot of people agreeing to that. So
Hi. Do you have a list of things that you want included in the capstone presentation? I didn't get in a list of things that you want.
right. So that's a good question. So just to be clear, you are submitting a capstone project or part of your capstone project every week. So if you're going on to Mind Edge after every session and doing those exercises, there's a submission and it says capstone assignment. So each one of those is building upon your issue. So everyone has diverse backgrounds, whether it's homelessness, healthcare, whatever it is you have. Your project is what you care about. So you have been working on that from the pitch to the testimony to the different partners, and you've been building upon that every single week. And when it comes to our in-person session, we are going to, do some exercises and work on that all together as well. But your presentation is you taking what you've learned here and giving us about a 2-minute pitch. And we're going to have our advocacy managers there to give feedback for where you are. Some individuals may be able to bring that issue. It might be ready to go to a BizFed committee to get support, but your project is whatever you care about, and you want government assistance to help bring that to fruition. So that's what this project is, and that's the angle that you're coming from.
You named a site that we should go to, that we should have been going to all this time?
Yes, MindEdge.
For some reason, this is my very first time ever hearing you mention that. Do you mention it towards the end and not the beginning?
It's been mentioned in every session when we talk about it at the kickoff and in the emails as well. You also got MindEdge logins.
This is my first time ever hearing about that. And I'm at every session that's on Zoom.
Yeah. So is that anyone else's first time hearing about that? Hearing about MindEdge? Okay. So,
but it took me a couple. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you first, ma'am. No, you
go. It took me a couple of sessions to find. I didn't get the initial email, and it took about 3 or 4 sessions before I could have access and start to work on it. So I have to agree, it was not quite as documented as I felt it was necessary.
Okay, so there's and it's important to make sure you guys are reading your emails, because it also says there too, like your MindEdge login, what's supposed to be happening in login. You also have a syllabus that mentions MindEdge within every single page.
Okay, can I add something to that? Yes, I saw that. I've been going along in MindEdge and going through the different modules, but the one thing that I think wasn't very clear was the weekly submits. I know that in the syllabus it outlines what we're supposed to be doing after the session, after the Zoom meeting, but as far as the linkage between the submits in MindEdge and the syllabus, I just don't think that was very clear, because even in going through the modules, I'm like thinking back, like, okay, where was that project submit? So I don't know if.
So in the syllabus, it also, and then this is helpful because we also want to make sure that, we need to enlarge the font, however, to bring more attention to it. That's what we will do, because we want it to be clear for everyone. And it says specifically like what section you are submitting, like this is the assignment to submit in the syllabus. And it's at the end of every page. For every section.
I saw it so you're saying it's also in MindEdge, like where you can actually complete the assignment. And
yeah, when you're going through the course, you have to submit the assignment to go to the next level, to move on.
So maybe I'm just doing it because I'm like, okay, I'll go back and look, because I know there are a series of questions and then some other information in there. And so I'll just go through it and like do the activity and then submit it. So maybe that's it. Maybe I'm thinking it's more than what it is. So, okay.
I think everyone's overthinking it.
Yeah. What's so crazy is that I tried to log on to the Zoom last week, and we didn't even have a Zoom last week. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I was sitting there waiting too.
Yes, so it's important that you're checking your emails. I updated the calendar invite to show that Alec was out in Japan, and then I sent an email after as well.
Yeah. And it was also mentioned, it was also mentioned at the last class that we had that we were not going to have a class last week.
I raised the flag on this today, and I have to hop off to the business multicultural meeting with this program. But I do want to say, there's been times that this has been raised, and I feel like the tone has been like, well, you should have read this or you should have done that. I really genuinely, I was reading things and I still had questions, and I work really well with clearer communication, especially in a written format. There are people of different generations, different backgrounds I could tell. On the back end, there's a lot of conversations I'm having with people who are just as confused. And that's why I was like, you know what, I'm going to ask this question, because I know someone that I'm communicating with right now who's like, I don't think I'm going to graduate because I have no idea what I'm doing. The platform is not intuitive. I've been on many different modules. It's not as easy. In fact, in the beginning, there were technical difficulties and glitches, and I didn't get anybody getting back to me until almost 2 weeks later. And there are emails I've sent out to the team, the leadership team, that to date have never even been addressed. So, and text messages and things of that nature. And so my like I'm pretty savvy. I can catch on. But if I'm even having challenges, I think it would be safe to assume that others are too. And maybe like that's something internally that you guys can address with more compassion, like assuming that, oh, wait, maybe they really aren't getting it. Maybe they're not reading the fine print. Maybe there's some another way to like communicate what's actually like needing to be delivered. I just ask if maybe that could be the assumption that we make and what are the solutions forward? Because telling us, like you said that last time, and I felt like, okay, yeah, like read it,
So
do
what
this.
part is not, what is the question exactly? Because I, for one, don't know how else to explain it other than it's each part of those weekly submissions are your project and your assignment.
Can I add another perspective just from mine too? I believe there was multiple different points of lack of clarity, and that's amongst the masses. I was in a big group email as well, and people were emailing each other like, do you know what we're supposed to do next? So it's not that it wasn't documented, because at some point I realized it is documented, but I think the communication to lead us to the right points, that's maybe where there was a breakdown. I knew there was module 2 where we were supposed to go through all of those, but I didn't know we were supposed to start it yet because we just hopped right into the cohort to the meetings. And I was waiting to be actually prompted to begin that module because it said we would do it once we started our meetings. So there's moments and gaps, I think, of communication of what's coming next or what should be done that happened. And I'm not speaking for the masses, but I was on a group email with at least 15 plus people who were all saying, what are we doing? Do you know what our cap? So there was some confusion along the way. I think that is a consensus. And I think what Lisa's sharing is, I understand too, saying, you know, it's already there. It's already there. That is clear, it was already there. But somehow, I think if you told us, the majority of us missed it at some point in the process. And so
can I add something too? If we go like maybe every week, just doing a brief touching on it, like, you know, someone saying, okay, you know, make sure, and not that, I mean, I know this is something that's more of an independent study type of thing where no, we don't need our hands to be held, but maybe just at least addressing some questions pertaining specifically to like where we're supposed to be as far as each of the submits or like what it is in preparation to the final capstone project, you know, or like someone mentioned earlier that they're missing the steps to the capstone project. So, you know, maybe just a brief overview outline, just kind of saying, you know, this is where, you know, what you should be, you know, maybe getting out of it at this point, or this is what you should already have documented in preparation for the project or something like that. Yeah.
I'd like to add that in one of the first meetings I brought up to the speaker, I said, hey, what's our homework this week? And the person said, oh, I wasn't aware that BizFed had homework. And then he laughed and I was like, wow, I feel really stupid. But
yeah,
no, I've been doing the homework all along, actually, just because I'm really intense and was asking a lot of questions and made sure I did it. But I could totally understand people not knowing, you know, getting that trigger to go do it. But I was wondering about feedback because I've been submitting stuff. And even when we submit stuff, it's not sort of getting, I didn't know that like what we're supposed to do next and sort of just saying, oh, well, I'm submitting it. I don't know if we're going to get it looked at. But if we're going next week and doing a capstone presentation, but we're not getting any feedback or input, or we don't have anybody to kind of ask questions of, I mean, I'm not really secure on what my project is, or you know,
I feel that, yeah.
Yeah,
so
we don't know where we'll end
that
up.
was why I asked if we could bring that up today.
I think the other thing, let me just add just one where I think the breakdown happened was because at the first orientation, we were actually supposed to be introduced to MindEdge. And then we were going to get like our logins, and then you guys were going to walk us through how to use it, where to go to find it, all of these things. So I think that that's kind of that was kind of the breakdown for me. Even though I am pretty savvy, I could kind of go and figure things out. My password didn't work, but I know how to, do a request for password, and I think that was shared maybe after it. And so I think that's kind of just where the breakdown happened, right? And
Can
so now we're here, right? So I think instead of like, oh, we're having all these problems, what can we do to kind of move forward? How many people are actually having challenges with it? How many people don't know certain things? And if there are people who have already kind of walked through it and they're already at the end, can you maybe volunteer maybe a time to walk people through who are maybe having challenges? Or maybe if you guys have already done screen shares, that can be shared. There could be a time where we kind of all get together to kind of go through this to really help out the people who are maybe behind, or then just kind of come up with things. And I don't know, Alicia, if there's somebody, maybe Blaine, can hop on with the group after
that was going to
this thing,
be
or whatever that looks like,
you're
right? I'm
reading
just
my
trying to what's the solution?
you're reading
'Cause
my mind. I mean, I've been listening in and all this, and definitely I identify with a lot of the frustrations
yeah.
And appreciate. And I wish maybe we could have had a time to have this kind of a powwow early on too, so we could really not only address it right now, but a part of our process is trying to we want to perfect this over time, just as we talk about perfecting your advocacy, and we do that by hearing your feedback and your concerns and where the hiccups are. So number one, apologize for all the frustration, and one and two things. Think about what we can do right now to help mitigate these issues, so moving forward towards next Thursday, you all feel confident and ready. So if that means we need to set up some kind of side session where we can go over everything individually, I'm happy to do that. I know we only have a little bit of time, but we can try to set that up. But also thinking, considering that you have been dedicated to this program, and next Thursday you will be graduating, also asking your advice is, do you think maybe it would make sense then in future cohorts to add maybe an extra 30 minutes? I know it'd be a 2 hour long period, but to maybe add some time on the back end where it's just a dedicated office hour kind of, where we sit down and questions. If there's no questions, we end early. And if we have 30 minutes worth of 45 minutes worth of questions, we at least have an extended period that is not the session itself, but is what you need as fellows and assistants in the program.
Yeah,
Blaine,
that would be great.
Blaine, I wanted to know exactly what you are looking for in a capstone presentation. I already have a capstone presentation, but if you have a certain thing that you want in the capstone, I can add it or something like that. But I have one in Gamma, I have one in Canva, I have one a government pitch, regular pitch, presentation, not at all. But I just need to know what it is that you are looking for, and I can add it to my capstone presentation that I already have.
So on a twofold way, as far as AV is concerned, I can, if you're thinking about it as far as the presentation is concerned, I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
As far as what this project and like if I'd say the heart and soul of the project and the whole purpose is for you to bring your passion to life, for you to bring your passion from thought to voice, and to have learned the steps that we have taught you and how to structure that advocacy, and then to bring that forth to the on the 16th. And our goal is to hear your passion and continue. It's not like you're not done with the program on the 16th. Like we you're now part of our family, and we want to continue to fine tune and grow. As Alex said today, like this is something we start off with, but it's going to take years to really fine tune that voice and advocacy to get to that professional level. But this is where we start.
Okay. Can I ask? I was just going to say one thing, maybe because you guys have already had this program before, and I will just say thank you. Like we've come on, we've learned so much, and we just want to do a really good job. And I think that's why everybody is like, what are we doing? How do we show up? But maybe there are some good examples of last year's cohort of their case of their projects that could just be shared to kind of help people kind of identify like what does a good project look like, or yeah, that would be my recommendation if we have access to that.
Absolutely, we can absolutely share that with you.
Okay.
That's a wonderful recommendation.
Okay. And can I say, my question is, I didn't really understand that we were going to be doing a capstone project until I got into this. And so when I was answering all the questions of MindEdge, it was more just to kind of show that I understood that part. And now I realize that, what I'm going to use is my advocacy for Keep the Esplanade Beautiful. But that means a lot of what I've already submitted is really not going to be part of what I'm going to be presenting.
That's okay. The submittals, because it's only natural as you're going through this process, you might change your mind about, oh, well, you know what, this actually fits better. Oh, you know what, I like what that person said. So it's really just to get you centered around the idea. They're all each components in one thing. It's all pieces of the pie, right? And so you're putting the pie together, and you can put that, you make that pie anywhere. So as long as you have those components and in completing the coursework and coming to the Zoom sessions and having these conversations, you're able to understand the strategy and the logistics behind, that it's not just a passionate presentation. It's there's planning and preparation that goes into it. Then as long as you can do that, that's all we're looking for.
Okay.
Blaine, can I ask really quick, how soon do you expect that we can get the the examples from the last cohort?
We can get those together and send out to you all by tomorrow morning, if that would work.
Awesome.
So perfect. Thank you.
With our capstone presentation, do we send it to you so you could put it on the projector as we're speaking?
Well, that I can't answer right now because I haven't been involved in the audio visual and the logistics behind the planning of the in-person. But what I can do is reach out to the person that is doing it, and then I'll have an answer for you as to whether or not we're going to be how we're going to be doing presentations, or if we're going to be doing presentations. I would assume we would.
We are doing presentations.
Okay.
Not everyone is required to have a visual, but obviously visuals always help to drive, the message home. And we will have a drive for you to upload your presentations on the day of. We're still at the 10 to 5 is for you to also come together and work on this in person. So you don't have to walk in ready and already done. We're going to do more exercises because we understand we've only had an hour and a half, 2 hours together every week to do this. So you don't have to be, all complete when you walk in there. We will help you flush things out as well in person next week.
Okay.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Okay, I have a question. This Zoom was delayed 1 week. Does that put everything else back 1 week?
No. The in-person culminating event has always been set for October 16th. It just set that one Zoom session back a week.
We always try to have 1 week to give everybody a breather to work on things, ask questions, and just so we're, because I know it was asked, like, can you meet with people? I reply to the email inbox when that's me sending out emails every week to let you know what to expect for the sessions, and that's me responding to your questions for those who are emailing. So if you are emailing BizFed Advocacy Academy, the same email that you guys are getting your weekly updates, people who have been confused or not sure of what to do, they've also been reaching out that way as well. So we're always here to answer your questions.
Alicia, I have a question, and thank you guys for everything that you do and putting that time out. Do we by any chance have like a roster? Like that way if we want to connect with someone, or sometimes it makes it a little bit easier. Do we have a roster or anything?
So that was something that was brought up at the first session, and I think it's a great idea because I didn't get everyone's permission. I didn't want to share everyone's information just putting it out there. But going forward, that is going to be something that we ask, like, hey, are you okay with that? And then we'll put out a directory. Also, there is the alumni LinkedIn that we add everyone to, or have already added everyone to. You're still able to join that and just connect with everyone individually that way. That's generally how networking goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to reach out, get that personal connection. So you guys are free definitely to navigate and connect. And I'm assuming everyone who wants to network has already joined the LinkedIn group.
There's also a WhatsApp group that we created for our cohort specifically, and the link is in the chat if anybody wants to join.
Okay.
Where is it?
Or if anyone wants to share their numbers here, and if anyone's open, if you guys want to.
Okay. What's the name of the LinkedIn group?
It's a private group, so you have to have the actual link to join, but I'll send it out again in an email to everyone.
Thank you.
Are there like a list of specific requirements to graduate this program? I mean, is it mean you have to have completed everything in the Mind Edge up to a certain point, or what?
Yes, everything in Edge needs to be complete, showing up in person, and that is it. Though there's an exit survey that we'll do when we're there for you to be considered graduating, but everything on Mind Edge has to be completed in order for you to get your professional certification.
So do we have anything that's applicable for our seasoned women, which are a little older and up in age? I call them seasoned women. They need a little help. Maybe we can kind of help them with Gamma. We can just kind of help them drop their business in there and let Gamma create them a presentation to kind of help them along a little bit.
Are you saying for the final project in person?
Yes.
Okay, you don't have to have a actual presentation, but again, when we're there in person, if anyone needs help, I'm not sure what Gamma is. I'm not familiar with all the AI tools out there, but it's not a requirement to have a visual presentation. Essentially, what you're doing at the in-person session is telling us what your passion project is, telling us giving us your pitch, where you are with it, what help you need, and then we move forward from there. Like you want to make sure that you're having a clear ask. So it's taking all the information and all the tools that you've been learning every week, and the in-person session is you actually applying it.
That's right. And we always want to encourage you to reach out to your fellows. And this is also about networking and connecting. If there's something that you have that you feel like would be a benefit, then don't hesitate to reach out. That's why we want to connect you.
So Blaine, what happens after the graduation? You said we'll be continuing. How does that work?
Well, one, you'll be part of the alumni or the fellow group as part of the big BizFed cohorts and past cohorts. You'll also be included in all future communications, in-person events, and as a mentor to new cohorts coming in. In addition, as I believe Alicia had mentioned, or Alec had mentioned earlier, let's say you do have a specific issue that you're ready to bring before a committee, we'll also be connecting you within the BizFed committees to help you present and build on that. And there's also opportunity to become a part of BizFed. And so there's just it's you now become part of this massive connection of people through different methods and different mediums, and it's something that we want to carry forward. We don't want you to just graduate and feel like we forgot about Peggy. Like we're always here as a support and a network.
And also, you might be at one stage by the time you have your presentation, but like, for example, we have people from the last cohort that they are, moving along, they're meeting with legislators, they're building out whatever is going on, and they come back and, hey, I'm here, I need help with this, we're always here to give you that assistance, because, like Alex stated, you know, and there's someone, I don't recall who, that's been working on an issue for like 13 years with advocacy. You're generally this isn't like a, you know, something that's going to be turnkey and then you're done. Generally, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, but you're likely going to always need assistance at different stages of your project. And that's what we are here for.
So I did have someone to call me and ask me what is it that I needed for my business. And I told them I needed certification. Would that be from your office that called me for that?
It was likely I mean, well, let me not just say yes, because I don't know how many spam callers you have calling you, but definitely Multicultural Business Alliance, Roberto Arnold and Diana, they are a team, as well as Patty Ross. She's specifically handling marketing. So a part of the experience here, most of you are business owners or have passion projects that you need assistance with, or nonprofits that need forming, businesses that need forming. And that is the team that is there to assist you in wherever you are in your business, whether it's getting it started, getting certified, understanding, you know, procurement opportunities. They work with you one-on-one to meet you where you're at and help you with your personal business goals.
So I've had my hands up for a little while, if I may.
Of course.
Yes, thank you. So I just want to confirm. So our in-person will be next Thursday on the 16th. And as you mentioned, it's going to be at 211 in San Gabriel. And it's going to be from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., correct?
Correct.
Okay.
They changed it. Was it supposed to be at the City Club or LA City Club or something like that at first?
No, it was no location determined until this week.
The calendar invite they sent out said TBA. And so I think they announced it earlier today that it's going to be it's going to be in the city of San Gabriel, which is San Gabriel Valley, about 15 minutes east from downtown Los Angeles on the freeway, depending on traffic.
Can you guys repeat the address of where it will be?
We're going to send that out we'll update the calendar invite.
Okay.
And also send out an email with the details as well.
Okay. So for more like a pitch instead of a presentation. It's a pitch to tell you a little bit about our business, what problems are we having, and a clear ask what we need help with and what issues we're having, right?
We can definitely work on help you one-on-one if you want to have another call or an email or whatever works better for you. But it's hard to say because it depends on the issue. For example, someone might be trying to tackle homelessness and their issue is there's not enough beds, or there's an ordinance or CEQA laws that are preventing buildings from happening. So they could be speaking directly to that. And, you know, here's my proposal, and this is what I'm trying to get done. So that's general. Your advocacy project is generally something separate than your business and like what you might be working with Patty or Diana when it comes to like your business challenges. So it wouldn't necessarily be your business challenges. It would be what are you, because again, you wouldn't go to your city council person or your assembly person and say, you know, I need help with my business, unless there was a policy or some type of ordinance that is giving you, you know, that is making a struggle, and you're directly speaking to that. So, like advocacy, you're wanting to use government in order to help solve a problem, whatever that one is specific to you. But I think the examples will definitely help.
So
yeah, it would.
So Lisa, just to confirm, so the capstone project will be presented. Each person gets about 2 minutes to present their advocacy project. So it will be on either a PowerPoint or it's optional PowerPoint, correct?
Correct.
Right. So basically, we are presenting it as if there's an issue that we care about, and we're either advocating it to city council or assembly member or senator. So we'll be addressing it to, let's just say, senator. Like, dear senator, blah, blah, blah. I'm passionate about this, and this is the reason why you should support it. Or about a specific bill that may be on the floor right now, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Thank
Can I ask, I'm just looking at the schedule and I plan to be there, but I got my first catering since the fires and I could not change. This was the only date. So I have to be there for the catering. And because it's in San Gabriel, I couldn't even get to part of the meeting. I thought I was going to be in downtown. So I'm wondering, how can I do my presentation that I can do it virtually? Or how can I
Send
do
us
it?
an email to the Advocacy Academy email address, Wendy, and we'll work with you to make sure that we still get your project and you can complete the program.
Okay, thank you so much.
Congrats on getting that job.
Yeah,
I know it's been such a hard year.
I have one other question, Alicia. Can you resend out the syllabus for everybody who may have missed it in the first email that you sent so that we can just have everything together?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
So you all please be expecting the email from her. Look in your spam if you haven't gotten it.
That's great. Yes. Don't let us come find you.
And we are, I mean, it doesn't help with this cohort, but we are building out a student portal that will probably be ready next year so that everyone doesn't have to, dig through their emails to find information. We want to have a hub that just has all the information, your syllabus, connecting with the different people there. That would be a lot easier, obviously, for everyone and just the continuity of it all. But again, this is our second cohort with this with this build out, and we're going to be building out and continuously growing. So I appreciate your patience and your feedback.
I appreciate you too, and for taking out the time to just hear our concerns.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. So I want to make sure no one's leaving here confused. We have this time after the end of every session to answer questions, and that's what this is for, so that you're not walking away unsure. So before we close out, I just want to do a last call for any questions.
No, I appreciate you. You've done this every week, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for everything. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Well, I'll see you guys all next week.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
you. And you can end the recording, Jose.